Welcome to another round of Soccer is in Session off season, and we're combining things. It's another 1v1, and we get to catch up with repeat guest, Solai Washington, who can now add to her resume World Cup participant. Welcome back.
Crazy. Thank you for having me.
Crazy in more than one word, no doubt about it. You got a studio audience with you this time.
always do.
So, all right, let's go back. Now that you've had a couple of days, week or so to just kind of decompress and look back at what happened with your appearance with the Reggae Girls in Australia, New Zealand. What are some of your takeaways about your time down there?
Well, I mean, first off, I've learned so much from not only just about myself, but from my teammates, from my coaches, from my components, even in everyone being in such a professional setting. And yes, you're competitive on the field, but you're also respectful, and how everyone carries themselves on and off the pitch. It was an amazing experience, and to be able to play with such, such like decorated players. Like I played against Marta and against Brazil, which she's been my idol for forever. So it was just a surreal experience that I still like watch some of this World Cup games, and I can't believe that I was just there just about a week ago.
I mean, all right, so let's go. Since you opened that door, you're playing against Marta. I mean, do you have that moment where you're like, I can't believe I'm out here and Marta is out here also? Or because there's X number of minutes left in a match, you kind of just have to sit there and tune it out. And then when you get final whistle and the ref goes like that, then you sit there and you go, I just played against Marta. I mean, what was that mind process like for you out there?
It was a bit like the second one. To start off, going into the game, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see Marta in real life. And not only that, I'm also going to play against her, be on the same field as her. And then once my number got called and I actually went onto the pitch, then it just blacked out and everything was just about soccer, about the game, about our team. It wasn't really about anything outside of it. I couldn't hear any of the fans, which was crazy to me because there were so many and everyone's so loud. But when you're actually zoned into the game, sometimes everything just goes blank. And then after, when the final whistle was blown and then we knew that we had made it to the knockout stage, it just all came crashing back down. I just came back into, real life.
I mean, you look at this group going in, it's France, Jamaica, Brazil, and Panama. And France, obviously, I know a lot of folks were sitting there looking at France, and this was a group where I think a lot of folks were sitting there and thinking it was going to be 3 teams for 2 spots. What was it like for you going up against the French in the group stage? What was it like going up against another team that's trying to grow in their own way, like the Panamanians? What was the group stage like?
Well, to start, I mean, we came in each game with the same mentality, and we just really try to zone in on ourselves. We knew that we were the underdogs and that some people doubted us, some people weren't as supportive, and that's how the game is. But what we really worked on was, finding our core. And so in the France game, we came in, we got our strategy, and we just worked hard on executing it throughout the whole entire game. Our defense was superb the whole entire tournament, and I think that really played off. And then against Panama, we knew we wanted to score some goals, and we were able to do that. We were able to win that game 1-0. So we went into that game with the goal. We were able to accomplish that. And then with Brazil, we just had to try our best to tie off the knot, and we were able to do that. We really just felt really proud of ourselves, I'd say, because, I mean, of course, making history, being Jamaica's first win, Jamaica's first time getting into the knockout stage was just insane. And so I think the main thing that we did was band together as a team. We didn't get too high on the highs. We didn't get too low on the lows. And we just kept a steady medium, and we're able to have a strong run in the tournament.
Did you have a chance to enjoy any other aspect outside of it during group stage, or was it pretty much, okay, we got to focus on France, we got to focus on Panama, we got to focus on Brazil, and then we'll get there? Was there any time to enjoy the surroundings at all?
It was, I think, after the group stage where we went to go see a few of native Australian animals, which was pretty fun. Everyone was able to just like calm down off the pitch, and like rather than just a rest day when you're just staying in the hotel, we were able to actually do something and have fun together as a team. But before that, in the knockout stage, it was really just, since some of the games were pretty close together, it was a lot of just trying to stay zoned in the whole entire time. And then when you have a rest day, that's when you take your break, and that's when you
have all this time, how many folks were blowing up your phone and your DMs and all of your social media and sitting there and trying to get you to talk about the experience? And I imagine that the temptation is somewhat there. How much communication with the outside world were you allowed to have, and how much did you give yourself?
I mean, I could have done whichever, end of the spectrum I really was comfortable in doing. But during the tournament, I was more focused on keeping to myself. I texted the people I needed to be talking to, and like my coaches back home, my family. But in terms of like DM, stuff like that, that was something that I just told myself I will handle after the tournament, because like it was a crazy spike. I think I went into the World Cup with 2,000 followers on Instagram, and now I'm leaving with like 10,000, which was like crazy to me. Like I never thought that would be happening, but it's just so surreal and so great. And I was able to like catch back up on everything once I got back home.
All right. So obviously getting into the group stage, setting history, and all of us back here got the opportunity to see those reactions at the end of group stage and all of that. Did you as a group have the opportunity to talk to one another, either in one-on-one conversations or in groups or whatever, sitting at the training table or whatever, and discuss what this means for the Reggae Girls and the history of the program? Did you guys have the chance to talk about perspective and the history that was made?
You're right. Yeah, we did. Every game day, we had a meeting with anyone who wanted to come to it, and we would say a prayer for everyone, their families, and to like be protected on the pitch. But we also just expressed a lot of gratitude for this experience, for how far we were making it, and for each other. And I think that was like one of the things I looked forward to, like besides of course the game on game day. I was like, because I always went into it a little bit more stressed, and then once I'm able to talk to all my teammates and we're able to really just decompress together rather than me just trying to do it alone, I was able to walk out of that meeting feeling a lot better.
Soccer's in session off season, a very special 1v1 with Solai Washington, who is fresh back from her time with the Reggae Girls and the Jamaica national team. The youngest member on the roster, as I'm sitting here and I'm staring at the roster and I'm doing math quickly, and it's like, okay, we got 20, 21. And then it's it's Leah Brooks in net, and it was Cameron Simmons. Those are the three of you that were under the age of 20. And there's a lot of veteran presence there, a lot of players in their mid-20s, upper 20s, and things like that. Who do you naturally gravitate toward for advice and conversations, for role models on the squad in these kinds of situations, considering that you played in 3 of the 4 matches? To deal with all of the outside pressures and the internal pressures, who did you gravitate toward to have conversations with?
It was a little bit of both. There were times where I went to some of the older players who have been in the World Cup before, who've gone through this, and I just talked to them about my nerves, and they expressed to me like that being so nervous was like normal and it was okay. And that helped a lot. There was also times where I went to the younger players who just I'm able to naturally relate more to because we're just closer in age. And so it was kind of a mix of both. I was able to feel like, best friends with some of the younger players, and then like some of the older players' little siblings. So basically everything in combined like helped out a lot.
Do you remember the shot that you took in the tournament?
I do remember the shot, because I remember looking up and I saw the goal, and I knew exactly like what I had planned to do, what I used to do. Like I do it in club all the time. And so I just didn't think about it, and I went and I tried. So I'm not mad about it. I do wish, of course, that it was able to go in, but.
Then do you remember the 2 fouls that were called on you?
I do. I remember the one against Brazil, which we watched back, and it actually turned out I didn't touch her, but it's how the game goes sometimes. Because I got like some text after, because I thought I did, because I just was so into the game, and then I got some text after and like the video of it, and they're like, yeah, so like you didn't touch her, but like that's just how it goes sometimes, and just really helped me like zone in, because I was like, okay, so like you need to lock in, because I was towards the beginning of when I came into the game against Brazil. So yeah.
Now that you've been back here, obviously you're, as you and I are talking, and I'm looking at you in a video sense, you're sporting the gear, you're repping the national team. How much space is all of that national team gear taking in the closet now that you got to bring home with it? Did you have to pack an extra suitcase with all the stuff that they gave you to bring home?
Yeah, I actually was able to stuff it all in my suitcase. I was like jumping on my suitcase to get it closed, literally. But yeah, I have like a huge bag of it just sitting in my closet, because there's just so much. They gave us so much, which was so nice to have. And I mean, I wear some of it like still now, just because it's comfortable and everything. And of course, I love to rep Jamaica. So
Are you framing any of the jerseys?
yes, I have. Well, I got 2 jerseys. Well, one of them is my debut jersey against France that I want to frame. And then the other one is my jersey that I played in the last, or that I was in the last game against Colombia. And I got all of the team to sign it.
There you go.
And so I'm going to frame both of those too.
And what was the feedback like when you got back home? I mean, like home, not just here in the States, but when you're back at home, the dogs are there, they're jumping up and down, they're happy to see you. Your parents are like, okay, we're going to take your phone away, we're going to put this away. The first night back in the house, did you actually sleep, or were you too wired now that you were back home?
I did not sleep at all. I think I went to sleep at 5 a.m. and I woke back up at 7 a.m. So a solid 2 hours of sleep, pretty much a nap. It was, I mean, a combination of me just like being like, I don't know how I'm back here, because just a second ago I was in Australia playing in the World Cup, and me and one of my teammates were talking about how like Australia felt like our home, because we had just been there for so long and we were so comfortable there. We had a routine there. And then so coming back and everything, switching back to normal was a lot to, adjust to. But I mean, I had balloons and everything. Like, it was the sweetest, warmest welcome I could have asked for.
And now that you're back home, and you had the opportunity to learn on the world stage and be surrounded by some of the world's best. I mean, obviously, we all look up, and I mean physically look up at a player like Wendy Renard, because she's like 6'5", 6'5", 6'9", 7'3", and having to go up against players of that talent. Mm-hmm. What did you learn about yourself as a person and as a player, you think?
I think a lot of what I learned about myself is that I sometimes tend to be like captured by my mind, in a sense, in terms of sometimes I psych myself out. I get too nervous, I get too stressed, and I get too like personally hard on myself. And that's sometimes prohibits me from showing everything I can on the pitch. And what I was able to thankfully learn, through my teammates and just through myself and trial and error in this tournament, was that like basically I just got to go for it, and like what happens happens. And my preparation is what's gotten me here. All the hard work that I've put in behind the scenes is what's gotten me here, and it will continue to pay off. And so really just trusting my abilities and keeping my confidence at a high level, no matter who I'm playing, because like I said, like I've put in the work, and that will show on the pitch.
Do you think of yourself, even at the age of 17, as a role model for young players of Jamaican ancestry, whether native or like yourself living in a separate country? Do you think of yourself as now a flag bearer or a role model for the future of the program?
I'd like to, be able to live up to that, as well as be that in the moment. I do think I have a lot of growing to do and a lot of maturing to do as I just simply get older and get more experience in this game and on the national level with Jamaica. So I think that, yes, I am at the moment, but I also think there's a lot more that I can be.
What would you like, for a young girl who wants to represent their country, whatever that country is. You and I are having this conversation, obviously, with a context of the Jamaican national team.
Mm-hmm.
But for a young girl that you may see, walking down the halls at Chamblee High School, someone that might be a U8 or a U6 or a U10, that has that idea of, representing their ancestral nation or something like that, what advice would you give young women about taking those steps to be that kind of individual like you're getting to become now at the age of 17, representing your country?
Right. My first one would just be to completely have trust in yourself and have trust in your support system, because if you have those goals, then you're going to have to work for them, and that's just inevitable. There's no easy way around it. And so if you are putting in the work, then that will pay off. And no matter if it takes longer, shorter, like for me, this was a very quick turnaround. I was not expecting to be in the World Cup a little bit like a year ago. So it was a quick turnaround. So you just never know what can happen. So I think always being on your toes and, just trusting in yourself and your abilities and keeping your confidence up no matter what outside factors may try to bring it down, just block them out.
All right, last question for you. Thanks for hanging out for another 1v1. I can't let you go without a prediction. We've got the two teams that are chasing after it there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen in the World Cup final? You can give me a winner if you want, or you can just give me tendencies like we're doing a game on TV, and it's like, well, I think this is going to happen. If one team wins, they've got to do this. If another team wins, they've got to do this. You can play it however you want, but what do you think is going to happen in the World Cup final?
Okay, well, James will be back for England, so I think that's going to be a good help for them. But I do think Spain would be able to kind of break England down in the sense that they will be, their passing is just hard to keep up with for almost any team. And I think that if England gets an early goal, they might be able to pull off the win, because sometimes Spain has had a hard time in terms of they only possess and they aren't able to get a goal off as much as they would like to. And so I think if England's able to get on the first, get the first momentum, then that might change the game. But I think besides that, I have my money as of now on Spain.
Okay, sorry, I fibbed. Last question. This is the last question. What's next with you right now? Next steps? How much recovery time are you giving yourself? Are you going to Brewster's to allow yourself some ice cream? What's it looking like as you're heading toward the high school season here as a rising senior?
Yes, so I am trying my best to eat as well as I can, because I know that I'm able to really learn being on the camp for so long how much what you put in your body is what you get out of it. And I was young. Well, I am still young, but I was, not as aware of that beforehand. And I kind of, I had ice cream when I wanted it and everything. So now I'm trying my best to just keep it more healthy. But besides that, I did start playing with my club team again. We have club season coming up. And then, like you said, high school season coming up in a few months. So basically those are my two big things. Jamaica has Olympic qualifiers coming up that we're waiting to hear the roster for. So that should be in September against Canada, which would be fun. And hopefully we get out of that going to the Olympics as well, but we'll see.
No doubt about it. So you treat your body like a temple. I treat mine like a tent. That's how this works. Solai, thanks for hanging out with us once again for a Soccer Down Here 1v1 as we go off season with Soccer's in session. Welcome back. Welcome home. It was great to see you. So you had a lot of folks here in Georgia and the Southeast footprint completely and totally marking out and cheering loudly when you would check in for the Reggae Girls. Fantastic tournament, great legacy, great steps going forward. Thanks for hanging out with us once again for a 1v1. We'll be keeping an eye.
Thank you so much.